Alright, good morning, Mr. Hawkins. Thank you for having me today presenting my thesis. Before we get exactly into it, I'd like to know the outline of the study. So first I'll talk about the research question, why it was interesting, why did we look into it. Then I'll go over the findings of the literature, so what exactly did we find in literature to help us answer that question. Then I'll go over how we build the study to check the findings of literature and go further. And finally, I will talk about what we found thanks to the study and what does that mean for us. Finally, in the end, also I will go over some questions that I found to be relevant. Okay, so what was the thesis about? It was about the influence of online reviews, and more specifically, the impact of positive reviews compared to negative reviews. Even pseudo-negative reviews, we'll get to that. So where did that idea come from? Well, it came from the fact that we knew that word of mouth was super influential, and now with Internet 2.0, it's widely available online through user-generated content, and we've learned that user-generated content can be manipulated. So we knew that we could actually now manipulate something that is very influential. So the question came, what is the best way to manipulate that word of mouth? And is that reviews are impactful on the brain judgment. The brain judgment being the prerequisite to subsequent decision making of the consumer. So consumers base their decision on brain judgment. We've learned that reviews impact varies with the profile of the reader. So meaning that the more people look for information, the more they look at review, the more impactful the review will be. And the less people know about the subject of the review, the more impacted they should be according to literature. And then literature also showed that reviews, their impact varies with the review itself, with the balance of the review, and that negative reviews, the negative power of negative reviews is considered more impactful than the positive power of positive reviews. And we've also learned that pairing negative arguments to positive arguments enhances the power of the positive ones. This is something we know from salesmanship, and that we want to investigate later, like pseudo-negative reviews, as I told you before. So what we didn't find exactly in literature that we were looking for was first, the impact of pseudo-negative reviews, because this is something we've only found like in salesmanship, but never in the context of online reviews. So this is something we need to dig further in with the study. And also, past research has always compared the negative impact of negative reviews to the positive impact of positive reviews. And if the negative impact was, more impactful than the positive one, then negative reviews were said to be more impactful. But never did we really look at the positive impact from another point of view that negative reviews could have on competitors. So this is something we wanted a quantitative study exactly to do so. First, to check the hypothesis of the literature review, and then to go further and try to answer some parts of our question that the literature didn't go over. And so to do so, really to compare positive to positive impact, we've built a study on an ecosystem of brands. And we always kept one standpoint, and really the idea was to ask people to rank and rate 3 brands in the beginning, then they would read a review, and then they would re-rate the brand, so we could analyze the difference between the initial rating and the final rating, and base our analysis on this. Here's the survey flow. By the way, we did the study on the outdoors industry, because it fitted our study, but we want to analyze more on this in the written thesis, but yeah, it's on the outdoors industry. So the consumer is asked to rank 3 brands, the North Face, Columbia, Quechua. He does it, he gives a rating to each, then he reads either a positive review about the brand he ranked second, so here Columbia, or a negative review about the brand he ranked first, so here it's going to be the North Face, or a pseudo-negative review on the brand he ranked second, so here it's going to be Columbia. And then, after reading, he's asked to independently rate for the 3 brands the factors of brain judgment that we have identified. So these are 6 different factors that we found were interesting in that situation that he raised, and then based on this we get a mean that gives us the final rating. And on top of this we have questions that ask the respondent to state his knowledge of the outdoors industry, his online purchasing frequency, and his review reading habits. Does he read a lot of reviews or not normally? So really the goal here was to find out how many people positively changed their mind after reading a review. Really, how did the brand rank second could best improve its relative position? Was it by diminishing the position of others or by boosting itself up? So this is, the number of people that changed their mind was the key metric. And that basically is that we've analyzed three levels of variation between the initial rating and the final rating. First would be a change in order, meaning that if at first it was the North Face, Columbia, and Quechua with 8, 7, and 4 as ratings, and after reading the reviews, the ratings changed to 8, 9, 4. Now Columbia, which was second, is actually, well, first, because 9 is superior to 8. So this was very satisfying. This is the best result. Then we had a reduction of the gap. So not so qualitative of a result, but still it's positive, meaning that at the beginning the consumer would really not consider the brand being second, and again he would consider it a little bit more. The gap was reduced between the judgment of the two first brands. So this is what we call satisfying results, meaning that the gap wasn't reduced nor overturned, but not reduced. It's not overturned as well. So that was the idea. So now on to the survey. We had over 160 people replying to it, and 95 answers were considered valid. Meaning that they were all finished and valid answers, not filtered, because we asked also filtered questions, like what is your favorite brand, and people that would answer either North Face, Columbia, or Quechua were taken out, because we want to really do see the influence, and people that love a brand can sometimes be less influenced. Where we filtered them, there were also other filter questions go for them in the written thesis. So okay, onto the analysis. So first, what we wanted to see was the overall impact of reviews, because we were said that reviews were impactful, so we wanted to check that. And well, it appeared that overall, if we look at the results, in over 84% of the time, we did find an influence, satisfying or very satisfying, the sum of the two. Yes, meaning that in 85% of the time, we did either reduce the gap or even change completely the mind of the consumer thanks to the reviews, which is really interesting, really. So the hypothesis here is confirmed. Reviews overall are. Then we looked at some consumer variables to see if indeed the impact of the review varies with the profile of the consumer and his information effort. So information seeking effort and familiarity go over next. So we had a nice split of people that either sometimes look up products online or do it for most of their purchases. So we've coded two different categories. On the left, we have people that look up only sometimes, and on the right, people that look up most of the time. So we split the population in two, and then we looked at the results for each, considering each were 100%. And well, we see that marginally the impact for smaller or people that look up only sometimes, meaning that the less people look up reviews, the less impactful are the reviews. This is what it proves marginally. But if we look at very satisfying results only, the difference is a little bigger. So, well, the hypothesis is confirmed. Not super confirmed, but still it is confirmed. And then when looking at familiarity, we also had a nice split of people from not very familiar to very familiar, and the two parts as well. People that are less than moderately familiar on the left, and people that are from moderately to extremely familiar on the right. And again, the hypothesis is confirmed. We do have a higher success rate for people that are less than moderately familiar than for people that are very familiar, at least more familiar than the others. So with familiarity increasing, the results are decreasing. So the hypothesis is confirmed. So if you look at the first conclusions, we see that reviews are indeed impactful on the brand judgment, and that the impact does vary with the profile of the reader. So this is good. Now a look at the balance. Oh, by the way, before we look at the balance, just to prove that what we were saying was relevant, there is no correlation between the review reading habits and the familiarity, meaning that the people that are not familiar with the industry are not necessarily the same people that do not read reviews. So that we, this is relevant data. At the balance, what did we find? What were the most impactful reviews here? Were they positive reviews or negative reviews? This was the first question. How we're going to answer these questions will always be the same way. First, we'll check the overall impact, as we just did. So if we look only at positive reviews, only at negative reviews, which were the ones that had the most impact. And then we'll check with the if these results are still true with different profile of consumers. So yeah, that's going to be the process. So first, negative reviews versus positive reviews, we said. So just a reminder here, it's either a positive review about the brand ranked second, so Colombia in this case, for example, or a negative review about the brand ranked first. So we are either trying to reduce the judgment of the brand ranked first, or augment the judgment of the brand ranked second, and we'll see which one is relatively the best. So when looking generally, on the left we have all the people that got a positive review, on the right all the people that got a negative review, and well, the success rate is much higher for the negative reviews, meaning that they were a lot more impactful than the positive reviews overall. 81% success rate for the positive reviews, and over 96% for the negative reviews. So yeah, overall, a lot more reducing in the gap, a lot more overturning the rankings. Negative reviews more impactful overall. But then, is it true for all the people? Will we see a difference when we look at people that are only not reading reviews? No, it's not the case. Here again, we have divided the population into two parts. Actually four, but first into two. People that sometimes read reviews and people that read reviews most of the time. So this is the first. Then in each category, we looked at people that either read a positive or a negative review. And we see the same thing. Negative reviews are more impactful again. For people that sometimes look up products before buying them, negative reviews were more impactful, bigger success rate, and same thing for people that look up most of the products they buy. A person that always look up products, or most of the time, and got negative reviews, always at least change their mind a little, reducing the gap between the brand name first and second. 100% success rate here. So negative reviews definitely more impactful than positive reviews here as well. We do see indeed a difference with the very satisfying results, meaning that we had a higher rate of very satisfying results for positive reviews and people that look up most of the products they buy. But this is marginal, and this is something you had to take into account. But overall, still 100% success rate on the right. Negative reviews are more impactful. Familiarity with the outdoors, we do exactly see the same scenario. Negative reviews are more impactful than positive reviews in both populations. People that are less than moderately familiar and people that are more than moderately familiar. Again, negative reviews always more impactful, and we do see, so the hypothesis is confirmed again, and we do see the same gap as before. That is significant, but still, overall, negative the ones that bring the highest success rate. If you look at this summary of the ones that had the biggest sum of very satisfying and satisfying results, the negative reviews were the one that always came first. Okay, so now we know that negative reviews are more impactful than positive reviews, indeed, on the brand judgment. But how about then writing negative reviews about the company itself? Like, rather than bashing competitors, how about using the fact that negative reviews are more impactful to write fake negative reviews about yourself that will actually carry positive message? So this is what we looked at later. Overall, the hypothesis is not confirmed. It's confirmed the negative reviews are still more impactful than pseudo-negatives as well, by a hard margin. So overall, it doesn't look good. But then maybe on some types of consumers, the pseudo-negative reviews will work. So let's look. Well, on people that when looking at review reading habits, no matter what the review reading habit is, the negative reviews are still always more impactful than the others, and in this time the pseudo-negative ones. So yeah, but this is confirmed again. Negative reviews are more impactful than pseudo-negative reviews, or pseudo-negative reviews aren't more impactful than negative reviews. We do see again a small gap here, but this is with the 100% success rate on negative reviews. There is no doubt that negative reviews are more impactful than pseudo-negative reviews in this case. But maybe if we look at people that are not very familiar, maybe the pseudo-negatives will be better. But no. Again, we do not see a higher success rate for pseudo-negative reviews. Negative reviews all the time take the cake and are more impactful. So the hypothesis confirmed again. We see a higher success rate for negative reviews, unfortunately. So if we sum that up, same scenario as for reviews, negative reviews always take the cake. So what do we conclude of this? Take a look again at our hypothesis. Well, reviews are indeed impactful. The more people read reviews, the more impactful they are. This is true. The less people know about the industry, the more impactful the reviews are. This is true as well. Negative reviews are indeed more impactful than positive reviews. We did find that in every case. And unfortunately, pseudo-negative reviews are not more impactful than negative reviews are. So this wasn't confirmed. This intuition that we had was not proved with our study. So what does that tell us exactly? To answer the first question, well, in order to improve their position on the market, the best way for marketers to manipulate word of mouth is to create negative reviews about their competitors by bashing all the others down. This is the most impactful thing. This is how they will relatively improve their position the most. And looking at the formats, which actually they don't have really power on because it depends on where do you post a review on, but really they should favorize review websites that have reviews combining a grade and a comment because they were proven to be the most impactful by literature, and Amazon uses them, Yelp uses them. They are really the most impactful ones, but really they should target people that are not very familiar with the industry, so maybe go on general forums and this kind of things, and this is the place where they can the most influence people with negative reviews about the competitors. Okay, I'll go over some questions now that I thought you might ask me. Is about the brain judgments. These brain judgment scales seem not very conventional. Are you sure it is relevant? This brain judgment scale, but yes, it is relevant here because what we are trying to analyze is individual variation in the brain judgment from an initial rating to a final rating, and so it doesn't have to be consistent between different consumers. We do know that people judge brands differently and might have different standpoints from the beginning, but this is not something that is of interest for us. Indeed, it's even better because this way we can accept that people have different views and just analyze how their view changed thanks to this metric. So yeah, and plus it's really relevant in the outdoors industry to look at technicality, quality, price ratio, this kind of things, really relevant. So yes, this is a good meeting. Next question, yes, about the process of first a mean, general rating, and then a mean of complex different factors. So why did we do this? Well, thing is, first we really wanted to analyze the variation. So to know the first standpoint of people and then the way they end. So that we really could analyze how they changed their mind. So we needed to have an initial thing and a final rating. Because if we looked only at, we make them read a review and then we make them analyze, we don't know how they were in the beginning and we can't really tell the influence the review had. So this is the first thing. And the other thing, to really analyze an influence, we need the people to not really know what they were studied on. Because if we'd ask them twice the same thing, give a general rating, read the review, and give a general rating again, well, they would understand that the only thing that changed between point 1 and point 2 was the fact that they read review in between, so it wouldn't be really relevant. So this is the reason why we started from general rating to complex mean that is relevant, as we have just proved. Okay, next question on the analysis itself. We do base our analysis on cross-tabbing. Do you think valid? Yes, very much so, because we had 4 variables here, at least 3, like the balance, and 2 consumer-based variables, and we cross-tab them all. And the way the data was worked really allows for this with the dummy coding of the outcomes and categorizing the population between the relevant variables. So this is really something that every time we look at an answer, we check it with things that might influence it, and we check if the answer is still true. And well, it appears that it was, and if it wasn't, well, it would have been interesting as well. But here, every time, we do see that it is relevant. And on top of this, we eliminate room for error by like filtering invalid answers from the beginning. So really, next question is about the dummy coding. The fact that we had satisfying results that could mean only a little variation, a little reduction of the gap. Like the person could start from 10 for the favorite and 9 and 5 for their second one, and then just go up to 5.1. It still would be coded satisfying. Well, anyway, if we have a reduction, it is positive. It's going the right way, and since we have minimized room for error, we can say that these positive outcomes are valid. And on top of this, we had to dummy code somehow our data to analyze it, and it seemed to be the most legitimate thing to do. Okay, no change, little change, and radical change. So sometimes the little change can be very little, depending on things, but still, again, it leaves room for interpretation for the customer again. So it's actually quite interesting as well. Okay, now a question about something that we do not take into account, being the trust in reviews. Definitely, this could influences the impact of reviews, but this is something we've chosen not to analyze because you can only analyze so much in one study. Crossing too many variables would mean that in the end would have been too complicated, and we wouldn't be able to tell what variation was due to what variable. So we had to make choices, and really there are studies that analyze this, and we could look into it later, but here it was a valid choice not to do it in order to really see the impact of balance had overall, no matter what people trust the reviews, no matter all things considered, what was the impact of reviews? This is the point. And sometimes maybe the impact was just finished because people did not trust some kind of reviews. This we could analyze in another study. Why do people trust reviews? How can we make them trust more? But this was not the point of this one. Final question is on something that I did not talk about that you might have noticed. I did not talk about the fact that we added the possibility for respondents to rank their factors of brain judgments, so that we can later weight the mean somehow and look at some how we build it. Really, at the end, when we ask people to rate each factor, we ask them to rank them from most important to less important, and to rate them independently for the 3 brands. This is what we did. Look only at the outcomes based on the 3 top factors. For example, we did not go further into it for 2 reasons. First one is because we start from a mean, and then only taking into account some factors would not be that relevant. I mean, there would be room for interpretation and assuming things, and wasn't so scientific in the end. And also because weighting the factors was a bit tricky. If you want to take them all into account, how would you say the most important? How much more important was it than the last one? And this is something we did not exactly ask the consumers. So we couldn't really tell. Maybe if we had asked them what factors do you take into account when rating, actually it would have been better, but we did not do this, and so thus we have something. We could have used it. I did play around with it, but it wasn't so scientific. It was really like testing stuff and theories, and we did see some interesting stuff, reviews having less impact on the things that were considered the most impactful, the most important, sorry. But we couldn't really draw conclusions. Plus, we didn't really have literature to back it up. So we decided not to go further with it. Okay, so much for the questions. Thank you for your attention, and I hope it was interesting for you. Just to sum it up again, so what we saw is that negative reviews are the most impactful overall, no matter what the consumer, no matter what the habits of the consumers are and his knowledge of the industry. So overall, all things considered, negative reviews are more impactful than positive reviews. Bashing competitors is the most impactful thing, and reviews are impactful overall. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.